A nationwide campaign against the sickle cell anemia has been effected today. In Cameroon, almost 10,000 persons have died in Cameroon due to negligence. What are the proposed solutions against this pathology? More in this edition of the news. An assessment plan has been carried out at the Douala Urban Council with all mayors present on how successful Douala has been in the fight against the dreaded coronavirus pandemic. This and much more will be yours in this edition of the Newscast. Thanks for watching STV on the 6 p.m. newscast. The Douala Urban Council has carried out an assessment plan on how to contain the spread of the coronavirus in the littoral region. Though Douala is very populated, authorities are optimistic the situation will be under control in the days ahead. Let's listen to the mayor of the Douala 1 Council, Lenge Malapa, as he gives his points of view.
So that we are satisfied of what they are doing for the fight against the coronavirus, and we appreciate also the deliberations we took so that we can give them a hand to keep on trying to ameliorate conditions of life of the people of our big city.
29 members of the European Union Parliament say the EU pays particular attention to the political and security situation in Cameroon, especially on the respect of human rights. A high-level meeting between the European Union and the Cameroon later this month is expected to tackle these concerns. More with you, Peter Nsosi.
The letter addressed to the European Union High Commissioner in charge of Foreign Affairs, Policy and Security, Joseph Borrell, calls for special attention on the political and security situation in Cameroon. The 29 EU lawmakers from 13 countries say they are paying particular attention to the respect of human rights. Since 2016, the signatories note that Cameroon has received 280 million euros for development aid, hence about 47 billion francs CFA annually. The envelope, which also includes private investments from the European Investment Bank, makes the EU one of Cameroon's major partners. The MPs lament that numerous operations by the military in the northwest and southwest regions have resulted in numerous rights violations. Separatist fighters have also been blamed for these violations as well, while lauding Cameroonian authorities for efforts taken to resolve the conflict, like the holding of the major national dialogue and the release of some prisoners. The EU MPs say finding a peaceful and sustainable solution to the Anglophone crisis and supporting democratic reforms must be a priority of the EU in Cameroon henceforth. The European Union MPs say the EU must use all avenues to make Cameroon ameliorate human rights. This explains why the political dialogue between Cameroon and the European Union, scheduled for June 2020, should have these issues for discussion, the lawmakers have insisted.
On to this brief, over to the nation's capital. The French ambassador to Cameroon, Christophe Guilloux, has promised an unwavering support to Cameroon in the ongoing fight against the Boko Haram insurgency. He was received by the minister delegate at the presidency in charge of defense, Joseph Betty Assomo. On to the business of the day. June 19 worldwide is Sickle Cell Day. Sensitization campaign in Douala is a perfect opportunity for people to know more about the pathology and help support those living with this disorder. Christel Asexwele has details. And we'll come back to that report later on in this newscast. Couples have been advised by sickle cell experts to know their status before marriage. This is to ensure that they bear children free of the sickle cell disease. John Paul Sama spoke to a health expert and puts forth this report.
Passing down sickle cell to a child takes 2 copies of the sickle hemoglobin gene from both parents.
If you put together two ASs, that is carriers, we often say they have a 25% chance of having a child with SS, that is sickle cell disease, and a 25% chance of getting one who is not sick, or carrier in this case, AA.
But science has proved in some cases that this is not always correct, as some exceptions can be recorded.
You have couples where they are all carriers and they can have 4 children who are sickle cell patients. The law of probability doesn't always apply in all situations, whereas you have other couples with the same AS, status, but they can produce children free of sickle cell. Nothing predicts the concrete outcome of these mathematical probabilities.
Mais dans la vie, il n'y a rien qui peut vous dire que ce couple-là, quand ils se mettent ensemble, ils auront que des enfants.
It is, however, important for couples who don't know their status to get their babies tested while in the womb.
Possible pendant la grossesse de savoir qu'un enfant est malade ou pas. Même si ça se fait pas au Cameroun.
We think that it is preferable for 2 persons who have sickle cell trends not to be together, because it is better to preview these things before they can happen in a bid to curb cost of treatment in the future.
Qui peuvent nous dire si cet enfant est malade ou si il est sain. Nous recommandons ce test chez les gens qui sont en couple, qui ne veulent pas se séparer, mais il faut savoir que ça a un coût.
But medics also advise that couples get tested for sickle cell gene before marriage.
It is possible during pregnancy to know if a child has sickle cell or not, even if it is hardly done in Cameroon. Between the 11th and 13th week, we can carry out the test either with the placenta cells or fluids that will be sent for testing, and the specialist laboratories will do molecular analysis which will produce the final outcome, but it is an expensive process to carry out.
Sickle Cell Awareness Day is celebrated every June 19 with the aim of raising awareness about this disease and supporting sickle cell patients.
Still on the sickle cell prevention effort, sickle cell vaccines are said to ease chronic pains faced by patients suffering from the disease. According to a health expert, the vaccine is not a permanent solution. Catherine Kone tells us more.
The goal of the sickle cell vaccine is not meant to cure patients suffering from the disease, but to rather prevent complications by reducing the incidence of sickle cell crises.
Nous insistons dans le cadre de la prévention de ces infections-là.
We are insisting that in order to prevent the disease, one has to get vaccinated and also be mindful of their living condition. One has to sleep under a mosquito net. Severe infection can cause severe pain.
Déclenchement d'une crise douloureuse.
Sickle cell anemia is a blood disorder passed down from parent to child. The signs and symptoms of the disease are caused by sickling of red blood cells.
Les crises douloureuses, qui sont d'ailleurs le symptôme le plus fréquent.
Pain crises, which are the most frequent symptoms. Secondly, we have chronic anemia. The third group of symptoms is vulnerability to infections. They will be exposed to frequent and severe infections.
Ce sera la susceptibilité aux infections.
2019 statistics shows that 2 million children are born with sickle cell each year, with over 6,000 in Douala and Yaoundé. 50 to 70% of sickle cell patients died before the age of 5. However, health experts say with the follow-up of the preventive vaccine, the death rate and infected number of persons would definitely reduce.
And now let's talk face mask and its discomfort to women. The popularity of face mask has posed a major difficulty for women, especially those who constantly wear makeup. Makeup artists today express the difficulties they are faced with in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. We remain with you, Catherine Kone.
The glory days of beauty and makeup parlors have gone sour as clients have to substitute face masks for makeup.
Dealing with makeup and putting on face mask now is really difficult because face mask generates heat and the heat does not go with makeup. So for now, we literally don't wear makeup, or we wear a no makeup. So that's what happens now.
To her, the beauty industry has lost its value as the sales and bookings of clients for makeup has declined.
Coronavirus has affected my business a lot. So there is no longer flow of income. So people who book for wedding, they have cancelled. There are no longer ceremonies, no going out, self-confinement, and so many other things that are making the business to be slow because nobody wants to come and do makeup. A face mask that is going to make the makeup to melt. So it's really difficult for people to cope with the coronavirus and business.
Though the demand for makeup has reduced, the purchasing price for makeup equipment have become more expensive.
The demand for makeup products have reduced. Clients no longer buy makeup products, and all those are a source of income. The prices of makeup products have inflated. These are 2 times initial price, so it makes business to be difficult, and I think it's better to be confined in the house than coming to a shop and ending up selling nothing.
As the compulsion wearing of face masks still stands as spelled out by the government, the beauty sector continues to suffer the severe effect due to the global pandemic.
And we come back to that report. We promise we're going to bring back to you June 19, World Sickle Cell Day, with a sensitization campaign in Douala, a perfect opportunity for people to know more about this pathology. And now we move over to this sad page. The publisher of the Star newspaper, Chief Paul Kemanyang, is no more. He passed away last night, Thursday, June 18, 2020, in Limbe. The cause of his death is not yet known. Peter Nsosie with a profile of the veteran journalist and traditional ruler.
Chief Paul Kemanyang was president of the Cameroon branch of the Commonwealth Journalists Association and vice president of the same body for Africa. Born March 8, 1959. The 61-year-old was also former national president of the Cameroon Association of English-Speaking Journalists, Camasech. He founded his tabloid, the Star newspaper, in 1991 and propelled it to be one of the most established newspapers in Anglophone Cameroon. As a journalist, he had no fewer than 8 detentions without trial, but has never been prosecuted. He was outspoken and was on the edge to defend the rights of his colleagues. His last public outing was early this month, where he led journalists to the Southwest governor to plead on the Samuel Wazizi affair.
In Cameroon, the law says when you detain somebody for 48 hours, you should bring him forth for the public to see him. To keep Samuel Wazizi for 10 months is an aberration.
Chief Kemanyang Paul is a traditional ruler in the BLM division of the Southwest region and Knight of the National Order of Valor. His courage to stand for truth earned him several awards in Cameroon and abroad, which made him a major journalism colossus across Cameroon's English press corps.
And may his soul rest in perfect peace. Most people see the job of a porter, commonly known as truck pusher, as dirty and relate them to people without a future. But one man at Marché Sandaga here in Douala is proving them wrong, as he is financing his higher education in computer engineering. John Paul Sama has details.
Clovis Asobo is a computer engineering student here in Douala and pays his school fees carrying bags and baskets of tomatoes for people at Marché Sandaga.
Yeah, since 2016-2017 that I finished my advanced level, I didn't have the means to continue my school because due to financial constraint. I decided to come here and hustle from 2016 to 2020.
A job which he is dedicated to.
Actually, I leave my house at 3 o'clock p.m. a.m. in the night, and I usually return home at 11 o'clock latest.
When you come to the market, what exactly do you do?
When I enter the market, anything at my disposal, to earn something, like to carry a bag, to offload, or to carry tomatoes from the market to the main road, I would do it.
Being a porter for this young aspiring Cameroonian is not something which one has to be ashamed of, because it is an honest way of life.
People with, that is, you need somebody with courage, yes, and resistance. If you don't have the heart, you cannot walk this type of walk. First of all, when you look at me, I'm very dirty. I'm very dirty. Yes, look at me, I'm very dirty. Not everybody would like to appear in such a manner. Yes, it's a very dirty work, but it gives money. No company pays me up to 5,000 per day, but I earn 7,000 here a day. Not up to a day, because I always return back at home at times 11 o'clock, and I still go and attend my classes in the evening. Here, I think it is encouraging to work here, because comparing to the other works I've been working around, I don't earn the way I used to earn here.
Just like any other profession, it has its ups and downs, as thieves mostly go around pretending to be porters. But he carries on his job in a very professional manner and has this message for his fellow comrades.
Youths outside there who are like me, who have been graduates, advanced level graduates, and even, let me say, degree holders, if you drop out of school and you don't have a means to continue, you can look out of this market. You look for money. Yes, don't look at yourself because you have reached a certain level, you cannot work any dirty work. Don't look at yourself like that. Yes, bring down yourself, you hustle money and you further your education. Tomorrow will be better for you. Because I'm hoping for the future that I'm going to be a better person.
Clovis Asobo is looking towards the future for better days, and he is working for it.
The sum of 252.5 billion CFA francs has been given to the World Bank Group to International Development Association in order to strengthen the electrical supply between Cameroon and Chad. Catherine Kone with details.
Boards of directors of World Bank Group have granted a sum of $385 million to the International Development Association in order to promote regional and electrical interconnection that will strengthen the supply of electrical energy to Cameroon and Chad. The Cameroon-Chad Interconnection Project is aimed at connecting the electrical network of the south and north of Cameroon in order to allow electricity exchanges between Cameroon and Chad and equally increase access to electricity in Jamena. According to report, Chad's energy services are among the least developed in the world, while Cameroon still suffers from large disparities in this regard between the southern and the northern regions. So the funds approved by the World Bank will finance the first high-voltage interconnection structure in the Central Africa, thus putting clean electrical energy sources in the south of Cameroon within the reach of the north of the country as well as Chad.
On our international page, thousands of Jews around the world are considering making what they call an aliyah. It's Hebrew for immigrating to Israel, partly to find out shelter in a place that as of Wednesday has suffered a few coronavirus deaths compared to other countries. While Israel has banned tourists from entering, it is allowing new immigrants. Details with the VOA.
In its efforts to provide a safe haven for Jews after a history of persecution and threats, and to boost its Jewish population, Israel has implemented a right of return. Since its founding, the Jewish state has welcomed plane loads from around the world, offering automatic citizenship to all Jewish immigrants. 90-year-old Nellie Gruskat made a sudden decision to immigrate and join her children already in Israel instead of moving to assisted living in New York.
I'm coming very often to my children, all the time. So, well, the corona made me decide I would like to make Aliyah. I want to be safe. Yeah, Israel is the safest country now.
It took me a few days to realize that she shouldn't stay in Brooklyn. There was this funeral home around the corner where all the bodies, right next to her house, where all the bodies were piling up. And people were dying every hour in her neighborhood in Brooklyn. And I just realized that the only safe place where we can really protect her is actually here in Israel.
Israeli organizations help the immigration of about 3,800 Jews from North America each year. The non-governmental organization that handles this type of immigration reports the numbers of potential immigrants starting the long and complicated process are way up.
But this is a unique circumstance. For the first time since the Yom Kippur War, Israel's borders have been closed to Jews that are not Israeli. And that's caused a pause for certain people who enjoy that type of connectivity and that solidarity, and they want to be citizens. For the first time in many people's lifetimes, the world stopped. And that's caused them to pause and recalibrate a little bit.
As part of the first group flight of more than 50 people during the coronavirus crisis, Esti Brookham arrived last week and described the flight for Olim, or immigrants.
It was definitely surreal. All the flight attendants were wearing full-on hazmat, what looked like hazmat suits. And everyone obviously needed to be wearing masks, but I was really surprised that there wasn't more social distancing. It was a pretty full flight. I think the fact that Israel is still opening its doors to Olim in terms of getting healthcare and getting all of their Aliyah benefits. Israel is always, I think, a country that really cares for its people.
If the pandemic continues, observers say it is likely that immigration to Israel will surge even more next year. Linda Gradstein for VOA News, Jerusalem.
And we will do everything we can to make your Aliyah.
Thanks for watching the news. That was what we put together for this edition of the news. Keep watching STV for more interesting programs. From us, it's good night and happy weekend.